Hey guys, Khalid from Cricket Fanatics magazine here, and today I have a very different but very special guest with me on the show. I've got Richard Stirton. I don't know if he wants me to tell you guys this, but this is I met him through his brother first of all, but then I found out something that he was actually the winner of Voice South Africa. He doesn't like it when I really say that, but he won the Voice South Africa. So, but there's something that really links us is the fact that he was a cricketer. He played cricket at the youth levels. He played cricket at Rondebosch as well. So he's also an avid cricket fan. So we're gonna have a different type of chat than we normally have on lockdown. But first, I'm just gonna welcome him. What's up, Richard? How you doing?
Yeah, dude. Thank you for having me. Yo, all right. Eh? As you can see, I'm in my flat. I haven't left the flat in like 3 or 4 days now. So deep in the lockdown game, it's kind of all blurring into one day.
Yeah. So, but for you, it's a bit different because you're in Liverpool, you're in England, of course. And
Yeah.
tell me how lockdown is over there. How's it been like? That's
Thankfully, we can exercise and go out like once a day to like go for a run or do some training outside if you want. But like it kind of defeats the point because if you do come into close contact with anyone by chance, you know, it's kind of you got to be responsible. But the fact that we can go out and go for a walk every now and then really does make a difference because I know it's pretty hectic in South Africa. And thank God the weather has been good because Liverpool's not exactly known for its delightful weather, but we've had sunshine and clear days and a bit of warmth and stuff, which has been like a saving grace because I think it could drive you pretty mad being in overcast, rainy, cloudy, claustrophobic conditions. But yeah, bro, it's a serious thing and guys must take it seriously because it's escalated quite rapidly here. I know South Africa's a little bit behind the curve, but yeah, it is what it is. Eh? Just got to be productive and make the most of it. Make some podcasts. You know what I'm
saying? So, like with regards to that, and the shopping set, because obviously we also completely in lockdown at the moment. We're not allowed to do much at all. You would have heard from your parents and your brother, of course. But like even with regards to shopping, Uber Eats, all of those things closed down, not working. I mean, I think they've recently brought Uber Eats into it for essential good delivery. But how does it work with your guys? Your side, is there any action on the roads, etc.?
There are people out and about, probably just driving to get to the shops and stuff, but they are saying please don't shop every day, like try and stockpile. We bought a lot more frozen stuff, so it's easier to prepare and you don't have to keep like getting all the fresh stuff because obviously buy fruit and stuff and that kind of goes. But yeah, they've even changed the hours of the shops. So like I think the bullies, the old people get preference in the morning. So they queue early and then they get let in because obviously they're the most vulnerable and you want them in and out as fast as possible for them. But yeah, dude, it seems like people have been really disciplined with it and like really cognizant of like how serious it is. But I mean, Sunday was a beautiful day and there were tons of people out. And there's an old dude with a walking stick and he was coughing up a storm with a mask on. I was like, bro, you should be at home. But I don't know. I think people do need to get out as well. I think as soon as English people see the sun, it's like panic, vitamin D, let's get outside. So, yeah, but they've been good. They've also changed the operating hours of a lot of the 24-hour stores like Tesco and stuff. So you can't just like last night I wanted to go grab ice cream and we couldn't because that's actually not good for social distancing. But couldn't do that because they've changed it's like only from like 8 until 7 as opposed to like 11 closing or 12 or even 24 hours. So yeah, I think they're just trying to limit it.
So it's going to pain me to ask you this next question. What is Liverpool like?
That's cool, bro. That's cool. Well, you talking about the football team because you're proudly donning your Manchester United because I know they're sitting pretty at the top of the paws EPL. It's cool, bro. It's a lovely city. I think if you're a student, it's amazing because it's like not too big. It's not too chaotic. You go to London and it's like pandemonium. Like you could be on fire on the ground and people wouldn't stop to put you out. But it's apparently the summers are euphoric. I haven't really seen one, even though I've been here since like last year. We had like a 7-day summer last year. But yeah, it's cool. The people are very friendly. It's very clean in most parts. I don't know. I'm used to the nature and the outdoors and the beaches and the mountains, so it is hella different. But it's got a good music culture and there are lots of opportunities here. So yeah, it's been a good experience.
I'm going to come into your music side of things later because obviously we know that Liverpool is notorious for music and the music scene and obviously with the Beatles, etc., and all of that things and that euphoria. So we'll get to that a little bit later, but let's chat a little bit about cricket first.
Sure.
I wanted to bring you onto the show because you used to play under 13A Western Province cricket. And
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about the grassroots level cricket and what that was like for you growing up, the passion where you got it from, because your dream obviously was to play cricket
Yeah,
professionally
dude.
first.
Yeah, I mean, it all started off. I mean, obviously, I watched sports was in my house growing up. Like my dad and my mom always tell me the stories of whenever anything was on TV, I'd go and grab that piece of sporting equipment and put it on or start playing with it. So, like, there was soccer on or football, I'd grab soccer ball, rugby ball, cricket. I'd go find a helmet and a bat and whatever. And then I just always kind of gravitated towards cricket and rugby because we obviously had a summer and a winter sports. And I started to find I was at Redham prep school for grade 1, 2, and 3, and I moved to Rondebosch in grade 4, and I realized how good they were at sport and stuff. And I spent quite a lot of time on my cricket, and that's kind of where I started honing my skills or whatever. And I fell in love with batting. I loved Jock Cullis growing up. I loved the fact that he was an all-rounder. I loved his technique, and he obviously has probably the best technique in the history of the game, batting wise. And I just love that whole idea of how classy he looked. Always had a lot of time on the ball, not on the ball because he's not a footballer, but he had a lot of time when he was facing. And the fact that he bowled, and the fact that he was contributing. I love the fact that you could contribute in so many ways. And that's what I think about cricket is it's an individual game and it's a team game. It's one of the rare sports that it's kind of like you can individually shine and you have lots of individual stats you can talk about. So, yeah, I fell in love with the all-round aspect of it, bowled a lot, batted a lot, and, yeah, bro, just went from there.
Yeah. So for those that don't really know how it works, and for parents that are younger children that haven't hit primary school yet, might be interesting insight to tell how the actual system works. So can you give me some insight into how that system works with regards to trials, etc.?
Yeah, so it starts with Baker's mini cricket. I don't know if they still do that, but we used to get these bats like as thick as a little plank, and you just basically run around. But it got the guys opportunity to start bowling and batting. But I did see quite a large transition from grade 3 to grade 4, where you actually start playing with a hard ball. You learn about swing. Actually, just as I got accepted into Rondebosch, I went for an interview. I was actually at the Western Province Cricket Club at a cricket academy, and I'd just been taught about the shiny side and the rough side and away swingers, and I was actually getting a bit of shite away from the right-hander. And just those sort of technical things that come into it that actually you can already start like working on and focusing on as a 10-year-old kid. And obviously it's a little bit of a different element when you know that if the thing hits you in the ribs, it's going to be sore, even though it's probably coming at like 60 k's an hour out of a 10-year-old's hand. It's kind of like a mental thing. But it is also very relatable, in a sense that what's dope about it is you watch it on TV and you're doing the exact same thing in your own little capacity on the stage, on the field in the middle of the week or on a Saturday. But but it was very competitive. I was very competitive. I remember we had trials and there were like a group of like 60 kids because it's generally around 4 or 5 teams. And you kind of just go through. We would have net sessions, and I think the coaches would obviously pick up the guys with the better batting technique and the better bowling techniques, and then you get broken up into the more like little squads, probably the A and B squad, and then the C and D squad, and then you'd have middle sessions. And then they could kind of see your fielding and your batting and your bowling. Yeah, bro. Thankfully, like once you get into the A team or once you get into a team, you obviously that sort of rolls on into the next year, and you don't really have as intense trials at the beginning of every year. I think the coaches do have a general idea of their kind of core group of players that they're wanting to nurture, which is kind of a little bit tricky because whether the lower ranked dudes in the C or D team get the opportunity is a different story, because there are a lot of guys who are late bloomers. So it's kind of like, how do you nurture everyone? Obviously, schools don't have like unlimited resources to sort of train 10-year-olds to become future stars.
Yeah, it's kind of something that you need to allow when kids are that young, you need to kind of allow them to express themselves freely, and that's something that sometimes coaches can get wrong, and you can take a kid in a completely different direction to what
Yeah.
they actually want to go into. And that's maybe something that's a little bit into your story as well when you moved into high school, because you mentioned that you opened the batting, opened the bowling as an all-rounder. What happened in high school? When did the dream for cricket kind of die?
Yeah, dude. So I opened the batting and the bowling, and actually with my province trials and stuff, I got selected for a couple of the rounds based on my bowling. I didn't even bat. I was put at like number 9, and then I was actually made clear to one of the coaches that like I do open the batting for my school, and then I got an opportunity, so I was picked to bat eventually for province. But the thing is that for me mentally, because cricket's a psychological game. And if you're in a positive frame of mind, you aren't so sticky at the crease, your feet start moving better, you feel a lot more confident, head over the ball. It's like positive movements. You see when guys are in good form, even their leaves are positive. I was known for my leaves. My mates used to tune me at a strike rate of like 32. Gotta occupy the crease, bro. So it was just a case of when I got to high school, because I got an injury just before province tour, and I got a stress fracture in my back, and they told me I couldn't play for a year. So I literally missed grade 8, and I was on a sports scholarship to high school. And when I got into grade 9, obviously everyone had kind of sort of cemented their place in the team, and somehow I kind of got into the A team again, and I scored a 50 in the first game, and I was like, this is chilled, back at it, like keep cracking. But then I hit a bit of bad form, and I wasn't being bowled. They kind of had their go-to bowlers. They didn't really see me as a bowler because they hadn't seen me bowl in like a year and a half. They were worried about my back, which was absolute, crap. I wasn't injured. I was fully recovered. So sometimes they were, I didn't get the opportunity to bowl, and that affected my ability to bat. So when I was opening the batting, I was kind of aware of the fact that, when you're playing under 14 or under 15A, it's like a 60-over game. Sometimes it's time. It's your whole Saturday. And if you win the toss, bat first, and you go out 5th ball, that's the end of your Saturday. And then you're sitting in the field and you're not contributing. And I was always hungry to contribute. And that's why I loved bowling. Because bowling, you always have a chance. I always feel like batsmen, although with T20, you'd rather be a batsman. But I always feel like bowlers, you're always in the game. You can always take a wicket. You can always change the game up in a heartbeat. Whereas batting, there's a lot more pressure. If you're out, you're out. Obviously, a guy can put down a catch. So that kind of shifted my mindset. And I was told that you kind of have to choose whether you want to be a batsman or bowler. And I was like, nah, bro, I'll just be neither. Because I was pretty impatient because I had quite high expectations for myself. And because I didn't make the first team in grade 10, I was like, is this a priority for me? Do I want to continue toiling away at this, or do I want to spend my time focusing on rugby and my social life, because my perspective had kind of changed once I got my back injury, because I realized cricket wasn't everything, and I realized the value in other people and your relationships. Because you know what it's like at school, you can become a bit of a dick and become quite arrogant and feel like sport is the be-all and end-all, but you realize, you can be the greatest cricketer at school. It doesn't mean you're going to be a good cricketer out of school. So many things can happen. And the opposite is true. You can be a terrible cricketer at school and be world-class later, like Kevin Peterson, for example. So, yeah, dude, I think for me, that put me off. I just felt like there was too much pressure. I didn't feel like I had coaching-wise, there wasn't a lot of input with regards to my batting and things that I may be doing wrong. And I think at those times, cricket's a game of fractions. And I didn't know what I was doing wrong. And also, I used to go for private coaching, and I didn't really feel like it was fair to, get my parents to send me for extra batting coaching. It should be happening while we're playing and whatever. But I think, that was a tricky thing for me. It's something it bothered me a lot at the time, but I just said my priorities changed. So,
Yeah, everybody's always had a dream to do something, and maybe something happened that changes it and changes your path, or etc. Same with me. It happened with me too when I was doing judo. I did judo for a long period of time. I was doing SA judo, etc. And I messed up my knee, and at the end of my career, I couldn't fight again. And so your whole mindset is like, you want to fight. I wanted to fight for the Olympics. I wanted to do Africa Cup of Nations. That was going to be my life. I was like, that was everything for me. And then it switched. And when I injured my knee, I went into music and tried things there. Things didn't go my way with regards to that. So then I switched again and I started doing digital marketing, digital things, and I started getting myself into this type of industry. So now I'm doing this.
Yeah.
So your life changes and your paths change. So I think that's something. Your story is actually a great story to other people out there that feel this way. And it's even the guys that are on the brink of actually that are on the brink of making teams, and something just pulls them away from it.
Yeah.
I've heard lots of stories. Like, I mean, currently there's a guy that was in the first team and the head boy, Leon Porta. He went through a similar phase in a way where he was in grade 10. He told me a story that he almost thought about giving up cricket to a point, and then something just kicked in and clicked inside of his head, and he just went and he drove for it, and now he's Western Province, etc. And he's
I think there's something that stuck with me the other day. I watched this Kevin Peterson documentary, and it's, obviously, if you want to achieve something and there's a dream of yours, a lot of the time you're the only thing standing in your way. Your mindset and your demons and stuff when you walk out to bat or whatever it may be. And I think some guys, for me, I just stopped because my priorities had shifted and I didn't really want it as badly enough anymore. I didn't feel like I wanted to spend 60 over matches on my Saturdays and spend the time in the net. So mine had shifted. But for a lot of guys, I think, especially in something like cricket, it's a very fickle game. You can be in the form of your life, but as soon as you have 5 or 6 bad innings in a row, people already start saying, maybe time for a bit of a rotation. But I think it's the resilience that something like cricket does teach you is a very important skill. Cricket has a lot of life lessons all the time, and that's why I think it's such an amazing sport. But you talk about the dude who was the captain or whatever in matric and in grade 10 was thinking about giving up. It's like Kevin Peterson says, it's like being able to score the ugly runs. He said that was his biggest regret in his career, is he felt like some days he'd walk out, because he batted like number 9 for KZN under 19 B team when he was under 19 playing provincial and whatever. And he kind of still had that in the back of his mind when he's batting at number 4 for England. Like, how am I here? Didn't feel like he was meant to be there and doubted himself. And he said that was his biggest thing he regretted, was that during his career, he couldn't grind and score ugly runs. You look at a guy like Dean Elgar, he'll be in terrible form, but he'll work it out and score, 100. Graham Smith, fighters. Gary Kirsten, fighters. And I think cricket is an amazing thing to teach you that kind of thing. So I suppose there are a couple of kids who get despondent. They don't get picked for a team. They don't get, they get dropped or whatever. It's to develop that resilience, to keep fighting, keep practicing, keep hitting balls, if that's something you really, really want to do, because it does require a lot of time. That's the one thing about cricket, is it's an hours thing, bro.
Yeah.
Screw 10,000 hours, like 25.
Yeah. So like a person I really look up to and I respect a lot is Mr. Graham October, and he's in the Western Province setup, etc. as a convener of he's not convener of selectors, but a scout, etc. and CSA scout. And he told me something special, and the quote was that cricket teaches you the lessons that life teach you, and no matter whether you make it as a cricketer or don't, it does teach you those things. And
100%, dude.
And it ties into your story. So let me just I want to learn a little more about you. So tell me about when did music start for you, becoming a passion where you thought, wait, I can make a career out of music?
Yeah. Just one more thing I want to say on that, what you were saying about the life lessons. It's a thing like when guys are walking. If you nick the ball, the umpire gives you just walk. It's those things of integrity. It's like how you behave when no one else is watching. That was my mindset. It's like, if you're on 99 and you edge the ball, you're going to know when you make 100 that you're actually out, and given not out. But at the end of the day, you're probably going to be respected a hell of a lot more if you do the right thing. And the same thing applies in life. I'll never forget, when I was like 13, I nicked a ball, was given not out, and I walked. And it was against Bishops in the final game of the year. And it was like I was on like 30, like we were doing really well, went out, and it kind of was a bit of a shift. But I was just decided, it's the right thing to do. And the fact that the Bishops dudes came and shook my hand, and it was mentioned later in an assembly when they were giving out awards and stuff, those kind of things make a difference. You realize, again, how important it is just to be a good person over and above, because, again, it's about relationships. You talk about the guys in the cricketing world, they're a community, bro, especially now with where it's going with IPL and all these international tournaments. We give a melting pot of players, Sri Lankans, Indians, South Africans, Australians, New Zealand, like everyone's together. you know. And I think it makes a difference when you're a good person, because also psychologically, again, when you go out to bat, you know that you have the respect of the guys.
Yeah.
And it's just playing, and you can back yourself. So I don't know, dude. But for me, with cricket, with music, that came in after my back injury. So when I was 14, when I got that back injury, I picked up a guitar and I was like, okay, sweet. Because I have a bit more time. I always liked singing, and I watched a lot of singing shows growing up, whatever, and liked music, but I never had the time because I was like spending a lot of time on cricket and sport. So yeah, I started when I was 14, and then kind of just played in the bathroom for a few years because the acoustics are so good. Close the door, close the windows, it's lekker.
Yeah.
And that's where it started for me. And then I only really sang on stage in front of people for the first time when I was like 17 in grade 11. So yeah.
Cool. So tell me about that journey. So you went on and how did the voice happen? Like, how did you apply for that and audition for that? And what made you decide to actually go for those auditions, etc.? And how does auditions work? I've never watched The Voice essay ever.
Yeah,
I watched the international one.
It's all kind of the same across all the platforms. It's just a generic thing. But my girlfriend messaged me while I was studying for like an ecos test, and she's like, "Oh, I just heard The Voice coming to South Africa. I just heard on the radio. You should enter." And I was like, "I don't know, bro. I entered Idols a few years back when I was 19, and I didn't even get to the TV rounds. So I was like, I don't know if it'll be whatever. What I have to lose. I know I'd improved a lot because I took a gap year to like do music a couple of years before that."
Mm-hmm.
This was at the end of 2015, and then I went to Newlands Cricket Ground. And we had to like queue outside, and then you go in and you fill out a few forms, and then you go into a room with like 4 people. It's hella awkward. It's like a small little room, and there's like 2 cameras, and then the musical director is like, well, you'll be singing, and then you play. And I sang Skinny Love. I played for like a minute and a half, and I was like, cool. And he's like, cool, thanks. So, okay. And I left, and then I had to fill out some forms and stuff. And then did like a little interview, and then I got a call 3 weeks later while I was studying for a stats exam, and they're like, "Hello, Richard, this is a confidential phone call just to let you know you've made it through to the recorded rounds of The Voice, the audition rounds in Joburg. We're gonna fly you up next week." And then bro, most nerve-wracking audition of my life. I had like an hour's sleep the night before. Which is terrible for singing.
Yeah.
As soon as you fatigue, it goes straight to your voice. And like I started the song was in falsetto in the beginning, which is like the really delicate, like high voice. If you tired, it can come out like a mating tortoise, like just air. So thankfully it went well, but it was a wild ride, bro.
Yeah. So tell me more about that. I want to know about your experiences, what it was like, all the performances, and what the judges were like, etc.
Yeah, the judges were cool, bro. It was Corin Zoid, Bobby van Jaarsveld, Lyra, and Khan Morby from the Parlotones. I wasn't really fully aware of like Corin and Bobby's music at all because I'm very English. My Afrikaans is appalling. Thankfully, I still passed it in matric, but got a gentleman 72. So I wasn't really aware of them. I was aware of Khan because I knew the Parlotones. We had a few of their albums or whatever. But they were all just such good people, dude. Just really about supporting, and I've built relationships with all of them post The Voice in their own sort of capacities, and just lovely people who just care at the end of the day and realize that we're all artists. And that's the biggest thing. Is they said, like, I did a podcast the other day with another group of dudes, and they said, you mentioned you were competitive with sport and stuff. How did that play a role in being in a TV show? And my mindset was like, again, like with cricket, rather just try and be a good person, do the right thing, be a good person by everyone else, and whether you do well or not, at least they'll remember you for being a good dude. And that was kind of my goal, and the mindset that like we all individual artists, so no one can kind of, as cliche as it sounds, beat you at being you, so Yeah, it was cool, dude. I made a lot of really good friends, and it was just a wild ride. When you're singing on stage on live TV, it's panic, like
Sure.
panic to the nth degree. You know, it's the nearest thing I could imagine to facing like the first ball of like a test match at Lords or in Australia against like Brett Lee or something or Mitchell Johnson, because it's just like there's a little red light and you're singing into it, and you know if you sing badly, like everybody's going to know. That already happened as well. I had like 3 weeks in, I did a performance of Don't You Worry Child by Swedish House Mafia.
Yeah.
And I had some bit of in-ear issues, which is the in-ears, you know, they send the click track and the back and the music into your ears, because it's not, you don't have wedges because it's live and recorded, so they need to send it into your ears. And I had some issues, lost a bit of my timing. I was flat the whole song. And then there was this one part where I was like, nah, this is cool. I'm going to do this. This will be sick. I wanted to put in a scream, but it's like one of those Muse screams. So if you put a lot of reverb on it, it'll sound cool. Came out and it was complete, like there was no reverb on the recording. They didn't put any effects on it. So it sounded more like someone had just reversed over a kitten. And yeah, it was just chaos. And then my parents, well, my dad, for those of you who know him, recorded it. He like recorded it on WhatsApp and subsequently sent it to me. He was actually there. So what they'd done is they recorded it in South Africa. He was at the venue, like in the crowd. And I remember at the end of my thing, I was so bleak, and I looked at him, and I looked at Craig, because Craig was there as well, my brother, for those of you that don't know. And I just see him go, what the fuck? Like, what was that? What is this? It's terrible. And he's like, I just flew all the way to Johannesburg to watch this. And he was like, yeah, he's like, what is going on? And I'm just sitting there like this. You'd think, yeah. So what happened was they flew back to Cape Town and went onto the DSTV that recorded the episode, and they recorded that scream, that little section of Nightmare, and then sent it out to like a whole lot of different people. So I got it from my dad. So I'd open these voice notes, like unassuming, like, oh, I wonder what this is about. Open it, and then like a terrific scream, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I'll be like, okay, uncalled for, haha, funny. Like a week later, like I'm back in my comfort zone, not really expecting anything. Get a voice note from Craig or one of Craig's mates, not my dad, so it's a different source. And I open it, and I'm like, so what the fuck? You know, and they just kept drilling it home. So, yeah, live TV was a different experience. It sticks with you. And it's still on YouTube.
I'm gonna
No, do you know? So dark, dude. It's dark.
So obviously that live, the final, we saw how emotional Craig was, and we saw how emotional everybody was, and when you won at that moment, I mean, that must have been incredible. What was that like for you?
Dude, just very surreal, hey? You don't, even with the audition, you see these shows on TV, and it's like being there is a completely different thing. It's like when I played, this is a weird digression, but when I played rugby and we had our first team game of the year, whatever, and you'd always dreamed of that moment of running out and seeing the crowd, and the energy and the perspective is just so different, and it just hits so differently. And the same thing with the audition on The Voice. And then in the final, it's just, you kind of feel like you're in a bit of a dream, dude, because your mind's trying to process something that you've almost seen 1,000 times because you've been envisioning it. But then actually being there was just weird. And I never forget, I woke up the next morning and I said to my girlfriend, because she came with to watch the show, and I said to her, I like looked at there was like a check for like 200,000 Rand in the corner of the room, and I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. You know, there was like the little trophy and all that kind of thing, and I was just like, I wasn't expecting to win, and all of a sudden it's like I had like a day flat out of interviews, like literally like 12 hours just back to back with newspaper, radio, magazine, photos, blah blah blah. And it's just a very strange thing. Like while we driving in between like interviews, I was like on the radio and people were talking about it just because it was quite a new thing. The first season was quite a new, exciting concept because we'd never had The Voice and whatever. So there was quite a lot of publicity. It was just, yeah, hella surreal, dude. Because, I mean, I'd never taken a freaking selfie before The Voice. And now you've got like all this like stuff of like you. It was just a very strange thing. And then like always send me pictures of my name on a 30 seconds card. And I'm like, bruh, that's so strange. 30 seconds game. Like
Yeah.
it's weird, dude. Like he's like, check out I found on 30 seconds. I was like, what? So it's just those sort of things are very, very strange to like wrap your head around.
Yeah.
But yeah, bro, I just made the most of it and enjoyed it and try to stay as true to myself as possible,
Yeah.
and kind
And
of
the
not
sweet,
let it affect you.
yeah. And the switch to becoming obviously now a professional musician, being out there, creating an album, all of that journey after The Voice. You hear a lot of stories about most of the time, or not most of the time, but a lot of the time you'll see guys, they'll be on Idols or they'll be on a show, and it's complete manic at that point in time, and it's all about them for a little bit, and then they just disappear. You don't see anything, you don't hear anything.
Yeah.
You actually came out, you created an album. I listened to it before this interview.
Oh,
Great
really?
album. I listened to it before as well, but I just listened to it again to get me in the zone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell me about that and that process of producing an album and going through that stage and that period just after winning it. How do you change your whole life changes?
Dude, I think I was very much a realist because I was aware of that situation. Like, you flavor of the month after a TV show, people get bored. There'll be another season. Then that dude becomes, more of a talking point, or they do better. I mean, for example, Craig Lucas won the second one and he's cleaning radio plays. I haven't got nearly the radio plays that he does. But again, it's all about, take from it what you want to do and use it to sort of take you on the path that you want, And I think for me, that was the biggest learning point is I wasn't aware of songwriting and, writing for the listener. For me, it was, I wrote songs as a release, it was a personal thing for me and a personal sort of outlet as opposed to, okay, well, let me structure the song so that I get to the chorus by 45 seconds so that it plays on radio, those kind of things. And like, how am I going to get a hook to work and what's sort of the landscape of pop music at the time, because we've got to be aware of, if we're not playing on radio, the mindset in South Africa in particular is if you're not on radio, you don't exist.
Yeah.
A lot of the music that inspired me and that I enjoyed would never be anywhere near a radio, so I think that's kind of why I've gravitated towards the UK for a bit as a bit of a hiatus, because I mean, straight after The Voice, it was like we had 3 weeks to produce that album. Which is not a very long time. Guys take years to put together albums. I mean, I've been sitting here trying to get songs together. It's a grind, dude. Because if you believe in your message, you want it to be right. The first song we released was a song called "What Tears Me the Most." It was the debut single, and it was originally written by James Bay. So everybody knows James Bay, and it's like, wow, that's cool, whatever. But the thing is, I want it to be the artist writing it. It's my song. Now I'm singing someone else's song and claiming it to be my own. In my mind, that's what it felt like. But I know this is the norm in the music industry. So, yeah, dude, we had 3 days to record that entire track. And we had to change some stuff because the way he played it was a bit different. So we changed a few of the lyrics, a few of the chords so it was more pop sensible, those kind of things. And I mean, we had sent the changes to the track we had to send to James and his team to get approval on the writing changes. And now, while that's being sent away, we are already recording the music video over the song that we produced before any clearance from them. So it was like, that's how fast it had to be. And it's like, Hail Mary, hold thumbs that it's all chilled. And yeah, we released that, and yeah, it did really well on iTunes and people really liked it. And, it's a very, proud time of my life. But it kind of started me thinking of like, I want to be in control of this stuff, and that's something I've been wrestling with a lot since the show, which is why I released my second EP, Naked, because I'm no longer with the record label, so that I can, write everything myself. Because at the end of the day, if I know Khalid's listening to my music, then you must know that it's from me. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm going to sing a song written by somebody else and then claim. Because then, I play shows and especially like I'd go to like Bloemfontein and stuff, and the people are so passionate there, and like, you know, they come up and like, oh my gosh, like we love this song, like what is it about? And like I'm like, well, in my mind, it's about that, you know, and it's just kind of like it just feels a bit contrived, you know, and I didn't feel like that was the route I wanted to take. So yeah, I'm proud of the album, and I mean, I worked with an amazing musician, Denham Harding, who plays for Just Ginger. He's a crazy musician. Plays bass, plays guitar, plays very, very good drummer. His drums is actually his first instrument. He's just a freak of nature. I don't think I think that album is as good as it could have been, and we are very proud of it. But it just put into perspective what I wanted to do, you know, with my music and going forward. So yeah, dude, it was a wild ride, and I suppose I'm kind of still I am where I am today because of it. And it taught me a hell of a lot. It kind of threw me in the deep end, but yeah, bro, just got to keep cracking and just at least take in what you're being exposed to and use it and assimilate and kind of use it to sort of keep you on the path or take you on the path that you want to go down.
Yes, your brother Craig also mentioned to me, because I mean, me and him are actually quite close. He's actually one of the guys that are watching out there. He's one of the writers that work with me. Cricket Fanatics magazine. He produced a lot of content. So I know him for quite some time. But he mentioned to me about something interesting happened for you, and it was kind of almost, I don't know, it was almost like a double amazingness for you, because Aby de Villiers is a guy that a lot of people look up to. Tell me about that relationship, how that started, because that's quite incredible.
Yeah, that was wild. He'd been watching the show because he tweeted about a couple of other O's performances, and then he tweeted something about my performance of Sound of Silence, and I messaged him and I was like, bruh, I'm a big fan. Like you're a legend, whatever. Thank you so much for the support. Like you don't realize how much of a difference it makes someone like you posting. And he's like, dude, he's salt of the earth, like nicest, most down to earth dude. He's like, oh, bro, not a problem. Love your stuff. Like me and Danielle, his wife, are listening to it. Like we really love it. Like cool. Here's my cell phone number. Like we can chat on WhatsApp. It's easier than Instagram. All the best for the rest of the show.
Wow.
I was like, what's going on, bro? Fangirling hard. Like I was trying to be cool. Like, yeah, cool, bro. Thanks. Don't want to say too much. And yeah, I mean, we genuinely like made like a connection, whatever, chat on WhatsApp a few times. And then I released my album, and then like randomly, like out of nowhere, he'd message me. Like I just get a message that says Aby de Villiers, and you kind of like look twice, you know, at your phone. And he was just always so supportive and so nice. And he'd be like, hey, my friend, like listening to your album, really love it. Can't wait to hear the new stuff. Like just genuinely like he's just being a good dude. So it's just very weird. And then he asked me to sing at Danielle's birthday. So we performed near the mates of mine, went and sang a few songs there and chilled with them. And just, very down to earth. And you realize, obviously, a guy like that, he's like a superhero in the sporting world, literally. And he's just the nicest, most down to earth, cool person. So very, very strange to be talking to him because it's just like what. But he's a good dude.
Tell me about that birthday, specifically. Like, what other cricketers were there, etc. And did you meet any of them? What were they like?
Mark Boucher was there, and Chris Morris was there as well. So and then he just had mates. You know, it wasn't even like he'd like invited tons of his cricketing mates, or just all his family and friends, which was really cool. You know, it's just I was just honored to be there and be allowed into that space. Yeah. You know, it's just because obviously it's a personal thing, and it's his wife's birthday, which is almost bigger than his birthday because she's so special to him. So they were cool, bro. I mean, all normal dudes. We didn't really chat much about cricket, actually. Like there were a couple of things in passing, but it was just more. Actually, spoke quite a lot about golf. I know Aby's. That's one thing I really want to play around and golf for that. I'd probably be so stressed on the first tee, probably duck hook it into the trees. But no, they're very chilled people. I mean, it wasn't even. You know, I think that's the thing when you play cricket all the time and it's everything you do. You don't really want to go home and talk about it. You know, it's like lawyers don't go home and discuss clauses and issues of lawyer stuff. But yeah, so it's just it was chilled, it was nice. Or they didn't have any egos as well, which was dope. There was no vibe and no, because a lot of the time you hear about the way that people are outside of the game and whatever. But the biggest thing for me is like what I really drew from it is they were just good people and nice dudes. So yeah.
So it's awesome to be able to see them in those type of settings, because I mean, obviously us as journalists don't have the same experiences, because obviously automatically we'll be like, when we're doing a certain piece on someone, it's automatically there's a little bit of resistance because you're the media and you must be very careful the way you talk to the media, etc. So it's, with this platform, we are trying to actually promote that and try to get to know cricketers as human beings and not as necessarily just cricket side of things. And like we've had a few episodes with some guys to get to know them off the field and their journeys, etc. This is going to come to a point. I'm going to bring on a special guest here to have a little game with you.
Okay.
So I know it's a surprise one.
Yes. Oh, it's hilarious. We look the same here, bro. Check this. If you put half your face there, we look the same. Oh my gosh. Just the hairline. Yeah, the two. Mine looks stronger on this one, eh? Mine looks pretty solid across. Your eyebrows have a restraining order. Restraining order on there. Okay. Yeah. What are we doing here? What are we doing?
So, Rich, I'm going to start off first with Craig. People, obviously, this is brother. This is who we was talking about. But let's just start with Craig. If there's any questions you wanted to ask Richard before we get into what I wanted to do.
Yeah, sure. So I think when we were growing up, two big things, two big parts of Richard's life were certainly cricket, as he mentioned, but also cereal. So I want him to tell the viewers about the day that those two sort of loves of his collided.
Oh, yes. Go. Oh, I tell them. Oh, no. Okay. I was like waiting for you, and I sat here for like 5 minutes. So I was in the final round of Western Province trials, and I got retired because obviously you can't bat the whole day. And I made like 40 not out, and they retired me, and I was super excited because I was like, oh, that was nice. It was the best I ever batted in my life. So I was like, I may as well quit now. And we were sitting, it was like we were in the interval. We were going to go and bowl after that. And I was sitting there, just dropped my gear, and I hadn't had anything to eat. And we lived very close to the fields where the trials were, because they're at the Rondebosch school fields. And then I hear 2 seconds, like 5 minutes later, my dad's walked from the house with a bowl of, I don't know what it was. I think it was a bowl of Cocoa Pops or something. He'd walked from the house, and I'm like, yes, best reward ever. So yeah, I smashed a little bowl of Cocoa Pops in the interval of my final round of provincial trials. So cricket and cereal are tightly linked.
So also when we were lads, a big thing for us was playing cricket in the garden.
Yes.
And a big thing we did was for a while we had a rule where if you missed the ball, you had to play candlesticks, which was you would hold the bat with the willow end and then hit with the handle. Okay. So I mean, Richard, very, very good batsman, whatever, thick. And I was super pumped because he had finally missed one was probably pitched on fourth stump. So sick. He had to play candlesticks, and Rich will take it from here.
So I was facing up very confidently because I obviously heard that Gary Kirsten used to practice with just a stump. I was like, oh, this is the same thing as a stump. Because it's something about the same girth as a stump, and so I was holding it from the other end of the bat, and Craig dropped it short, and my eyes lit up, size of flipping, plates, and I took a swing at it, and obviously there's no grip on the other end of the bat, so the bat kind of spiraled towards my mother's massive windows and just proceeded to smash an entire window with the bat. I don't really know how I explained that because, obviously they see the bats inside. It can't be like, oh, I hit the ball or something. Like, what are you doing? What? So
Explain it. It's crazy.
No, yeah. I think I blamed it on Craig though, so it was all good. It said Craig was bowling cuck, so it's actually his fault. He dropped it short deliberately to bait me.
So guys, I thought this would be interesting because obviously Craig now becoming a journalist in cricket, of course, and you being a cricket fan, both of you guys. Both of you guys becoming cricket, are both cricket fans. So I thought I'll play a little game with you guys. Let's pick Proteas 11s, all-time 11s in a way. Let's start with Richard. Let's see. Maybe we should do it in a way that's easier. Let's pick openers first. Go with Richard and then with Craig. Try to get them out. I'll try to write them in the comment section as you go. So, Richard, if you had to pick two openers South Africa as an all-time opening pair, who would it be?
Gary Kirsten opened though, hey? I'd probably go. My openers. I think no. It's tight, Brew. I'll probably go Graham Smith number 1, to be honest. And captain.
Okay. And
you don't realize how many runs he scored, bro. He scored like 9,500 runs.
Yeah, second test runs behind Cullis.
Yeah.
Cool. So your openers, Cullis, Kirsten and Smith.
Yeah.
Wait, sorry about that. Apologies.
No. I said Smith. So you have to say the number 2.
Okay. Yeah. So, potentially I'd go with Gibbs.
Or a test team.
Yeah. His test record's not bad. He's got like 6,000 runs.
Pretty flamboyant.
Yeah.
A lot of confidence.
Hey, let's go. So let's Gibbs and Smith.
Okay. Gibbs and Smith, that's fine. And then you're going to put Gary Kirsten at 3 or Cullis at 3.
What about Amla?
So wait. So are you guys both picking Smith?
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. I thought we were making it together, alternating through positions.
Okay, yeah, let's actually do that, yeah.
No, I don't know. I'm not making the rules.
You're running the show. What do you say?
Okay, cool. Let's make a combined 11 then. That's much better. Okay, so you want Smith and Gibbs as your openers.
I think that's it's a good opening pair.
Okay, cool. Number 3 is a difficult one because now you've got. So a lot of people debate this one because you've got when Amla came, Cullis dropped to 4. So you're gonna have to choose this one.
It depends how old Cullis is when we're picking him here, bro. If he's a bit further down the line, I'd give him a bit of a rest and let Amla come in at 3 and put Cullis at 4. Then you put AB at 5 and you're cruising.
Okay,
you have a wild team, man. My word.
You think Amla number 3?
What do you reckon, Craig?
Yeah, I'd tend to agree. Yeah, I think Amla at 3 is very solid. And then, so you say Cullis at 4, hey?
Yeah. Because then he's got more in the tank if he needs to bowl.
Yeah.
Although if he scores 150, he's going to be tired either way.
And then with regard to De Kock, would you bet him at, because I'm sure you're going to pick.
You put AB at 5.
You're going to put AB at 5?
AB at 5, yeah.
Okay. And then are you going to pick, should we pick De Kock or should we pick Boucher as the keeper batsman?
That's dark, eh? Oh.
Are you going to pick your buddy Boucher or are you going to pick... So number 6, that's a difficult one. Holy flow.
I would pick Quinny purely as a batsman at number 6 and then Boucher at 7, but then we only have 4 bowlers. What are we doing here? Then we're just backing. Although we don't, where are we playing? Do we need a spinner? Nah.
No. If it's South African,
okay. And we've got Cullis bowling. You see, that's the thing, bro. Yes.
And he's a quality slip, or he was a quality slip fielder as well.
Yes.
So then we should, So Did we say Quinny at 6, specialist batsman?
Quinny at 6.
Okay, cool. So we're gonna have a specialist batsman at Quinny at 6, and then Boucher as your weekly.
At 7.
Yeah. And then
That's a
it's got a long tail.
what is it though?
Would you have Vernon at 8?
Remember, the
You also got the buddies, bro. You're forgetting like Alan Donald, forgetting like Ntini, Pollock. Ooh, I'd put Pollock at 8, bruh.
Yeah.
I'd probably put Pollock at 8 ahead of Vern because similar buzz.
I don't know if it's a recency bias sort of thing, but I feel like Pollock. I feel like Vern was potentially his record is better, but I actually always felt more assured when Pollock was batting, if that makes sense.
Are you saying Vernon has a better batting record than Sean Pollock?
I'm saying yes.
Does he?
I don't know. He's got 7 Test 50s. I don't know.
Let me check this up now.
You the cricket expert here, Khalid. What do you say?
you guys are gonna really do that now. So, with regards to Vernon and
Pollock scored 3,781 Test runs. He scored 216 50s.
Did he? What?
Yes.
Oh, cheapers. Okay,
well, he was class.
Then it's a no-brainer. Shit, sorry.
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
Remember,
okay.
Yeah.
And then
remember, Sean has 2 Test 100s, so over Vernon. So that's the thing.
That had actually slipped my mind, to be honest.
Yeah. That's why we only brought you on late.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so
we've got
Shauna
Pollock at 7.
No, Pollock at 8. Boucher's at 7.
Pollock at 8. Boucher at 7.
Yeah, okay, Pollock at 8. Now you're going to get into a tricky situation. You're going to play 2 all-rounders. You're going to play...
You're really playing 2 all-rounders.
Yeah, so we got 2 all-rounders. Then I would whack... Then I would go...
Steyn?
Yeah, but you got guys like Morkel who get wickets peripherally. Yeah, Steyn, Rabada, Donald, Ntini still.
I mean, the wild thing that I realized the other day was Ntini took 390 Test wickets, eh?
Took a lot, dude.
No, Ntini's ridiculous.
You get 10 wicket hauls every day.
Yeah.
I would go. Okay, Ntini definitely in batting. No, Donald is probably worse than Ntini. Ntini in the 4-3-8 game with a little late glide down to the third man.
I wrote an article.
And KG, bruh.
Yeah, flip. But just to digress, I wrote an article for Khalid. When was it? Last week, I think, about that game where Smith came out to bat against Australia with a broken hand in the 3rd Test in 2008-9 in Australia. And Ntini batted for 75 balls in that to try and save the game. And then there was actually,
the man was sponsored by BNS, bro. Those are the classiest only professional cricket I've ever seen with a BNS bat.
Don't forget Nicky Boyer though as well.
Nicky Boyer. Nah,
yeah.
I'm
saying BNS.
Hey? Oh, was he also BNS? Yeah.
That's also another thing. Are you guys going to play a spinner? Because remember, you got Callis up there.
Bruh, Smith will chuck a couple of late offies. I don't know. It depends where you're playing. I don't think we need a spinner.
No, I think if we
got 5 pacemen.
Yeah.
So you've got number 9. We're going to pick Dale, Ntini.
I'd go Dale, Ntini, Donald. I don't know. What are you thinking there, Craig?
I don't know. I think, I think KG, certainly when he sort of burst onto the scene, I'd definitely have picked him then, but he's sort of the last, whatever it is. Obviously, I'm sure his workload is certainly a factor, but he hasn't been as effective in the last sort of year as I would have liked. So I'd agree with that.
Their bowling was interesting against England.
Yeah.
I thought they bowled very poorly.
Rabada is ridiculous.
Hey?
He's ridiculously good.
No, I know. But the thing is, yeah, I mean, he is like didn't he just hit 200? He had 200 wickets now.
He may have.
Are we going to pick KG ahead of Alan Donald? The thing is KG can also bat a bit, dude. And he's got fire.
I don't know. I can't really speak to how Donald used to bat.
You know how he ran.
Khalid would like to say
Really?
Eh?
Apparently, I've got this tendency to say when we used to work at the cricket magazine together. Apparently, I used to say to the older guys, the office, like, "Oh, don't you remember when Tiger won the Masters in 1997?" And he was like, "But weren't you like 5 months old then?"
You were a fetus.
Yeah.
There was an interesting one. He was talking to our friend Alistair, man, and he was saying, "Oh, don't you remember? Do you remember that time when Ward took that wicket?" I was like, okay.
I can't talk 2005 Ashes though, bro. I saw Warren playing 2 Ashes series.
But it has a tendency to say, like, "Do you remember 92 when?"
When I was still with my father. Yeah, no. I have not left the. Sorry, yeah.
Okay, cool. So we've got Smith, Gibbs, Amla, Callis, De Villiers, De Kock, Boucher, Pollock, Steyn, and Tini and Donald.
Oh,
okay, guys, I'm
KG
gonna put
is
this
a
in the
super sub,
conversation. Guys, let me know what your teams are as well and what you think.
Is anybody watching on the YouTube vid?
Yeah, there are people. There's people commenting over here.
Are they tuning?
This is funny from Daniel. He's like, a test 11 without Rulof van der Merwe is unacceptable.
Yeah, Rulof, bro. You remember that? Like, he'd hit a pull shot and it would go flipping over point, dude.
You remember one inning where he scored like 50, but literally like 90% of his shots didn't go in the intended direction.
No, dude, he was like a scatter cannon, bro. It was just like, yeah. It's like Paul Adams bowling action in a batting. Yeah. Anyway. Yo, dude.
I'm gonna blend it.
I wanted to ask us here as well. We got Dorian over here asking, what about Cullinan? So that's difficult for us to say because we didn't really see him play.
Nah. Daryl.
Only Craig did. And
yeah, Dorian, do you remember watching Cullinan score his debut Test 100?
My only sort of recollection of Cullinan was playing with him on Cricket 2002 on PC, so that's pretty much where it starts and ends.
Yeah, it was hella pixelated. We couldn't really criticize.
Dorian, let us know what your 11 is. Who do you think?
Please, guys, share. Please tell us what your 11
is. Ihsan is over here as well. So know where Roger Iggy.
What is Iggy saying there?
Where's Roger Telemarcus?
Right. Oh, that look, bro. Okay, let's do an all game. Throwback to the most random cricketers over the last 20 years, whose names you haven't heard, like the classics, like the Rogers.
This is probably gonna rub a few people up the wrong way because he was our batting coach for a while. But Dale Benkenstein, I mean, yeah.
I don't know.
I heard some great stories about Dale as a player back in the day.
Really?
People really rated him at franchise level, etc. So
he was for the Dolphins, eh?
Yeah. So we've got over here as well. What about Tansikronia? I don't know if I don't
know about his record though. I mean, I know he's a legend. And
I think his record was apparently pretty good. I can actually try and find it here, but I mean, he played. He was the one oak that gave Warren trouble apparently.
Yeah, I heard those stories.
Yeah.
Do you remember watching that game?
Oh yeah, multiple games.
Craig was in the courtroom when everything went down.
Yeah, Craig was there. If you actually look really closely at the newspaper clipping, you'll see Craig in the background.
Yeah, Dan has another one. Gerald Dross.
Gerald Dross? No ways, dude.
That's great.
You are because you can't get too much of a good thing.
Come on, I don't you ever say with us, Dan, come put your team in the bottom of here. There was some interesting conversations going on Twitter. We put the fantasy team together and people went crazy because we didn't put Ntini in the team, but we weren't picking necessarily the best 22. We were just picking any random 11s and putting them against each other, and then as a fantasy, and crazy, and we're like, oh, where's Ntini? Where's this person? Where's that person? It's quite fun. Okay. I can't answer this question because I can't go on 3-day benders. But if you could go on a 3-day bender with the 3 cricketers, who would it be?
It's a good question. I've stopped drinking, but if I had to start drinking again, sure.
Do
you have any? I'd say Kevin Peterson. Well, no, probably Andrew Flintoff, because that oak was hammered after the 2005 Ashes, and he's like meeting the Queen, and he's like buzzed already. So probably Andrew Flintoff, just because those oaks know how to jaw. Got to be an Aussie somewhere.
David Boone, the ex-Australian cricketer. I think he had like something like. I'm probably gonna get this wrong, but something like. It's rumored he had like 40 beers or something on the flight from London to Sydney or Sydney.
I heard about that. And then Herschel. as long as we can Uber.
Khalid, care to share your one of your first encounters with Herschel?
Nope.
Really?
That's not.
I've seen Herschel out several times, and he seems like he'd be lacquered to have a jaw with that.
So Daniel's bringing in his team quite quickly. He's picked the first top, the front. The first 5 is exactly the same. The Villiers 5s. He's opted for something very interesting, which I love.
Top and middle order there, bro.
Yeah, because he's got a Manchester United thing. He's thinking about the front 3.
Yeah, the back 3.
Top 3. Okay, so he's got Smith, Kirsten, Amla, Cullis, and then De Villiers, same as you guys. And then this is an interesting one. This is an interesting one. Is Ashwell Prince at number 6 instead of having a wiki, and you have Quinton. Now Ashwell I feel, is one of the most underrated cricketers out there from South Africa. From personally, the grinding that he's done. He's supposed to bat in the top order and had to bat 6 sometimes. So he's put Prince at 6. What do you guys think of Prince?
So. There's a to quote Anchorman. I don't know if anyone's seen it. I'm sure a lot of you have, but agree to disagree.
It could be interesting though, dude.
Why? Because
I'd rather
Quinny though.
Quinny can be the keeper, but he doesn't have. He doesn't have Quinny in his team. So who is his keeper then? De Villiers. Oh, here's the cook. Here's the cock. Sorry, I'm lying. The Cox is keeper. So
he's got. Yeah, I mean that's probably. Although Boucher scored a lot of runs, we forget.
He did, and he could always he had a very good way of managing the tail, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, Quinny.
See, then again, you put the top order specialist batsman at runs.
Sorry,
you put the top order specialist batsman at 6 to consolidate that bottom order with Conan and Cock. I think 6. I think I would put me personally. I'll put Prince in instead of Boucher, just so and then make Quinny keeper. But that's not my team. That's your team. So if Sam wants to say he doesn't want to come on video, but he wants to say that Ashy P was done. So
the gun. Thanks to
you like to write essays. Like, give us a little essay over here about why Ashy P was so great and why you would put him in the team instead.
But what a lot of people don't realize is Ihsan Ali was one of the most underrated players at school and definitely an undiscovered talent within South African cricket. So shout out Iggy as well.
And
Really,
he said himself, out to average 30, you're having a laugh.
Okay, that is kind of, I mean, if we're going out and out, we could probably get away. Quinny's going to have a higher average, and then you just sub and get someone like Prince in. But I mean, dude, then we could put the Dipper at 6. I'm joking. Yeah, maybe Ashwell Prince. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Then you've got specialist batsmen all the way to 6. It's tricky, bro. It's tricky because you also want resilient guys. You know, he was a fighter. Ihsan, he may have averaged 30, but he was a fighter. You know, although Prince was a grinder as well. I don't know. It's tricky.
So, guys, you were there 11. I would like you to learn what your guys' 11 is. These are type of things that we're going to be doing on our podcast show. We're going to be doing a podcast show soon on a Sunday evening, hopefully. It's a nice time for you guys to actually settle down. We'll get Richard on again. We'll get Craig on often and have these type of discussions with you guys. But thanks a lot, Craig, for tuning in. I'm gonna say cheers to you now. Oh, heat proof, like Tony.
Cheers,
So thanks a lot, Richard, for this. This was really awesome. I just lastly want you to just give a message out there for the Cricket Fanatics fans. And yeah.
I must say, yeah, well, dude, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. Stay tuned for the Cricket Fanatics new stuff that got coming up. Tune in on Sundays for the videos and podcasts and chats. And let's engage, bro. It's a strange time during lockdown. We're not going to be watching any cricket, so we can reminisce and just think about the times that, do you remember when? Were you watching? Lots of love, guys. Thanks so much for having me, Khalid.
Thanks, Richard, man. I'll chat to you again.
Cool. Cheers, bro.
See you, bro.